It's Jefferson, climbs the ladder. Oh my goodness! Come on!
We are live. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports MLB Swing for the Fences show. We got the crew here. We got P. Lally 10 in the chat says, welcome back, JT Hayes. That's correct. JT Hayes is back. We got our guy, DC, just got back from a nice hike. And I had myself an eventful day. I was at the car mechanic, at the gym, looked at a little baseball. It was a good day so far. So excited to talk with the boys, though, and get some great takes from them. Let's go over to JT first, though, because we got to welcome him back. We got to find out how his trip was and see if he's got any good stories for us. Maybe a nice little telescope story if we're lucky.
Yeah, no telescope stories. It was a long week. I had to actually fully take Tuesday and Wednesday off from DFS, which I don't normally do, which I don't know if that's a positive thing about me or a negative thing about me, but it is what it is. So took a couple of days off. Actually, Wednesday and Thursday were the days I took off. And, it was a decent weekend that could have been a lot better if I didn't stubbornly refuse to believe that the Braves were just going to score 12 to 16 runs every single day. And I was actually having a conversation this morning with my wife because she said, hey, how have your squads been? And I said, well, just what I said here. And I said to her, and this isn't I don't mean this the way that it might come across because I don't think this is what's happening, but I'm interested to get DC's thoughts here and yours, sweet Travis, because the last run that I can remember that compares to what the Braves are doing now are the Houston Astros in 2019, when every night they would score 10 or 12 runs or something like that. I don't think that's what's happening now, but that's the last time that I can remember a team just absolutely dominating no matter who they played. It's been great to see as a Braves fan, and I'm just going to have to submit here. And they're not on the slate this week, but coming up this week, I'm going to have to get back on and just say, I'm just going to play those guys every day.
Well, you're not playing them this week because the time. They are playing at some very odd times, JT. They are at the if you play them, it's going to be some morning slates, right? They're playing the 6:40 slot. And you know what? I'm enjoying some time off from the Braves. I'll just say that. You know, I played them a little bit. I had them yesterday, right? But I'm enjoying some time off from the Braves. Listen, our guy, Uncle T, supporting me in the chat. We got Rubio saying that Mangone is the type of guy to get scammed by a mechanic. That's very hurtful. And Uncle T, of course, says, Rubio, that's bad mojo. Mangone knows what he's doing. Listen, I'll make sure I won't get scammed, Rubio. I'll be perfectly fine. And if I do get scammed, guess who I'm going to? I'm going to Rubio Dimes to get some money because that man has a lot of money right now. He's been absolutely crushing it. So if you haven't checked out the content that Rubio is doing over here at Run Pure Sports, you better go check it out. Absolutely crushed it in golf. Crushed it in the F1 streets as well. So I'm sure there's other sports that I'm missing because it's a heater for Rubio Dimes right now. So be sure to check out all the content he has. He also crushed it in the WNBA. So if you're looking for WNBA takes, I know there's not many of you, but if you are, use that code SUMMER33. Get you 33% off over here at Run Pure Sports. But we got to go to DC. He's got the Atlanta Braves hat on. I'm sure he's going to be sad to not be able to play the Braves much this week. But how are things going, and how do you feel about the Braves?
I feel great about the Braves. I was on the show Thursday saying I'm playing them all weekend against the Rockies. I just didn't think the Rockies had any chance to slow them down. Unfortunately, it wasn't on a lot of the best pitchers on most slates, but obviously Braves paid off. But if you do need money to, hire a lawyer for the scam, the mechanic, man, go get to Rubio to get it. But I know a lawyer who is the best at bad business practices, making it right for his clients. So, if you need a referral, I do have a lawyer in mind that could help you out.
Well, I heard he wears green, and it's not JT Hayes. Polos constantly, but that's a pretty good one there, DC. But it's definitely been a fun time over here at Run Pure. I'm excited for today's slate, though. I'll tell you one thing. You look at the slate. I mean, there's tons of great pitching options. We got some weather that we can discuss that we'll kind of dive into. DC, let me go right back to you. Give me like the slate overview, right? You were just on a hike. I'm sure you looked at the slate before the hike, right? So I'm sure there were thoughts going in your head about this MLB slate. When I first saw it, I basically said like, wow, there's a lot of good pitching options and some pretty good hitting spots. And no Braves. So I was very happy about that. We get at least a break so we can check out a different kind of slate. But what's your kind of overall thoughts on this slate, DC?
I like it. Yeah, 7 games, so a little bit shorter as we often see on Monday. Really the only weather concern I see is the Cincinnati game, which obviously is pretty relevant, right? Because we know how good that park plays in Cincinnati, especially with the home run balls. 2 lefties on the hill who, frankly, are targets, I would say, pretty much in any park, but especially in this one. And if it does play, I do think the hitting weather will be good. So we'll have to check in on Cincinnati, see if we can go there. If not, though, and even if we can, frankly, I do think we're going to see ownership spread out both at pitcher and with stacks, right? There's nothing that really stands out. Like the Reds do have clearly the highest team total on the board, approaching 6, but no one else is above 5. So you will see spread out stacks, which I think is a fun way to play, a little different than we've seen, obviously, with the Braves over the last few slates. So that's fun. And then pitching, I mean, I don't think there's, at least for my money, any slam dunk options. Some pitchers who have been kind of up and down throughout the year, including, Max Scherzer. And yeah, I think a lot to talk about. So fun slate overall for sure.
Yeah, I was on the Sunday show. And like I said on the Sunday show, like Charlie Morton chalk, and that never feels great. And I don't know, is Corbin Burns chalk ever amazing? Like, how do we feel about Max Scherzer chalk? It's definitely going to be interesting to dive into these pitchers because we do have good pivots, right? JT, before we dive in, give me your kind of overview here on this slate. Obviously you've been out for a little bit. You've been smelling the roses, so you're going to give us a nice little fresh take for the people.
Yeah, it is an interesting slate. You have obviously the biggest decision point, as always, it seems to be when the Rockies and the Reds are playing at home. One of those teams playing at home is the decision about what to do with that game. The weather adds a little bit more intrigue. You have the Rangers, who have just been probably outside of the Braves and maybe more consistently over the course of the season than the Braves, about the best offense in Major League Baseball. They had a very, very nice weekend themselves. I played some Rangers over the weekend, so that was nice. And they're in Chicago playing the White Sox. No weather there, but it does look like maybe a little bit of a wind game, not as much of a wind as you would like to see to really say, all right, this is a big impact. But they're starting a bullpen guy that has been decent, given up a lot of hard contact. But it is a full-on bullpen game, which will be interesting here because the White Sox bullpen is, bottom 5, bottom 8 in baseball. But it's still that thing where, the White Sox can go ahead and if they have lefties coming up, they can go to a lefty. If they've got righties coming up, they can, mix and match that way. So that's interesting there. Then the rest, you have a lot of very good offenses or offenses that have been good at times that are going to be spread out. The Diamondbacks have been quite good. They're playing Corbin Burns. The Minnesota Twins, there's a lot of power in this lineup. They do strike out a lot against left-handed pitching, but when you look at James Paxton, his last 3 starts against Cincinnati, against Colorado, and against Cleveland, who struggles with left-handed pitching, this is a completely different matchup than Paxton has seen. The last time he's seen a matchup with this kind of power is when he took on the Angels in Anaheim, and that did not go so well for him. So there's some interesting spots here. Didn't even get a chance to really dive into the San Francisco-San Diego game because that game seems to me to be garnering little ownership. And Michael Wacha, while he's been very good, he's also been really, really lucky. And we've seen just as recently as I think it was Saturday, the power in the San Francisco lineup when you can get the guys in the game for more than 3 at-bats. So really interesting slate. And then, of course, the Mets and Houston, interesting matchup there. 2 very disappointing teams. The Mets coming off not a great weekend against the Cardinals, and the Astros getting swept by the Reds, the baby Reds, who welcome Joey Votto back. So that'll be an interesting discussion when we get to that game as well.
Yeah, and of course, weather will be there, and we got our guy, DC. He'll give us some weather breakdowns. We'll talk about it in the Discord chat as well. And if you don't know about the Discord chat, if you're not a member at Run Pure Sports, you're not able to access that. So you got to go sign up and use that code SUMMER33. Get to hang out in the chat and talk with everyone. There's tons of great things that are going on in there. DC, why don't you tell the people the bet that was made the other day in the Discord chat, which is one great piece of value of why you should be a member over at Run Pure, because it'll give you an opportunity to kind of pat yourself on the back a little bit.
What was it? What was it called? What were you saying?
The bet you made, you and Steve Boyd.
Yes, Mr. Brian Wu. Yes, that was.
Yeah,
that was
let them
awesome.
know how you dusted the sports books. Let the people know.
Yeah, FanDuel released a to lead the slate in strikeouts, and reminded me a little bit of like the old DraftKings stolen base parlays, where sometimes these books, obviously, like, let's just be honest, the books, this FanDuel and DraftKings sportsbook are making a lot of money off their customers, right? No question about it. It doesn't mean that they don't sometimes make mistakes, hang bad lines, especially on kind of some of these novelty bets. And yeah, I saw this. Someone had posted it on Twitter, and like there was just no chance that Wu was anywhere close to a 70 or 37-1, dog or whatever you want to say to lead that slate in strikeouts. I mean, we played him in DFS too, right? I thought he was a legit. I still think he's a legit good pitcher. We posted that in the Discord. A whole bunch of people got in. Some people had the like a 50% boost, and so yeah, $25. I think it was into like 1,400 or something like that. Once you applied the boost and the 37-1, I think you got like 50-1 after the boost. So yeah, very fun. I know a lot of people in the Discord hit that, which is a nice little bankroll booster there. And yeah, I don't know if they've reposted it. I know the next day it was off the board, which sometimes happens. I think we weren't the only ones on it. I found it myself, but I did find out after the fact. Certainly other people saw it too. So that was certainly a fun night with Mr. Wu.
Yeah, but that's some value you get being a member. Obviously, we get some really great content in there for you guys and talk about all the slates. So, and we give you updates on things. So be sure to go sign up now. But let's dive in and talk about the slate. JT, I'm going to go to you. Pitching at the top. Hunter Brown is number one, but it's $200 more than Corbin Burns, who is going to be the clear-cut guy I think people gravitate towards against an Arizona Diamondbacks team that you mentioned before. They're pretty good at baseball, right? 6.5 strikeout prop for him. You got Merrill Kelly on the opposite side. You could make a case for him. He could easily have a big night. No one is scared of this Brewers team. You got Paxton in there. We know what his upside is. We know his downside. Pablo Lopez, and then Max Scherzer. So we'll include Michael Wacha in there. So let's go 8K and above because you had some good points about Michael Wacha that you probably want to bring up. Talk about these guys up there because there's a lot of different options to go to. Looks like Burns, I think, and Scherzer are going to be some of the chalkier options. I think Lopez, too. You're going to see ownership kind of spread out on some of these guys, but I think Burns is for sure the guy that people are going to gravitate towards the most.
Yeah, so start with Burns and Scherzer. It looks like, and Lopez a little bit below them, right? Going to draw probably the highest ownership. And let's start with Scherzer here because he's, first of all, at his highest price last time out, and he got absolutely shelled. And, it has been a season for Scherzer where he's had some really, really good games and against tough opponents. He had a good game against Philadelphia, obviously the game against Colorado, which we expect out of a pitcher of his caliber, no matter where the game is. When he's coming off of these games where he just, everything goes south on him, mechanics, control, you have to believe that he's going to put it back together. The challenge here is the matchup. The matchup against Houston, not a great matchup, but also not as bad as this matchup has been in years past. There is no Yordan Alvarez. There are some easier at-bats here in the bottom of this lineup. And the Mets, with a very tired bullpen, this is a spot where if Scherzer is pitching well, I think that Buck will lean on him, get 7 innings out of him, maybe get into the 8th inning. And that's enough to keep him on my list here, just because of the watered down a little bit matchup and the fact that he may get some more length. We know that there are other pitchers on this slate that aren't going to get that same opportunity. The Burns spot is one that's a little tricky for me. He is, the price is fine right at 10K, and it's the matchup here. Yeah, the Diamondbacks do go on the road. There's not a ton of home road splits in this lineup, but when Burns is popular, as you pointed out, it is a little bit interesting to maybe take another path. Going down a little bit, the next, I think, most popular pitcher, Pablo Lopez. Lopez, a little bit unlucky here from what I'm seeing, getting dinged up a little bit in spots where he normally wouldn't be dinged up, a little bit of bad BABIP here. And he gets a Red Sox team that we love to focus on and play when they're in Fenway, but almost all season long, they've been a different team away from home. They've been a worse offensive team away from home. So I think I side with Lopez here in this spot in the home matchup. You go down a little bit, I think, and you were asking about Michael Wacha. I am going to take the position, even though he's low owned here, probably going to take the position that I will fade Wacha on this slate as of right now. I know that, like I said, he's been really good, but also another guy who's gotten a little bit lucky, a little bit of strikeout variance that I don't think we're going to see all season long. And then you come to Hunter Brown. Look, I mean, the Mets do not strike out a lot, but by the same token, in this ballpark, a lot of these hitters don't really strike fear in opposing pitchers, right? You've got basically Alonso, Starling Marte, Lindor, and then a bunch of guys that I call platoon players. I know that Brandon Nimmo has been nice as of late, but I'm in on Hunter Brown here in this spot. I'm in on Scherzer. I'm in on Pablo Lopez. And then James Paxton. I talked about it just a few minutes ago. You know, his last 3 opponents were pretty much cakewalks. He's pitched very well. He could pitch very well in this spot, but I'll bring up one added detail. And look, to be fair, unless you go back and look at who the pitchers were, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense all the time to focus on things like umpires in particular games. But I will point out that it looks like Paxton's been a little bit lucky. He's gotten a little bit of variance with the matchups he's had, and he gets Edwin Moscoso, who is among the top 3 or 4 extreme hitters umpires in the game here. So I think I'm going to take the position that I'm going to be more leaning on the side of the Twins than Paxton.
Yeah, I don't know what that umpire's name you said was. That sounds like a cocktail you get at a bar or something, but it sounds like a good matchup for that man. I'll say that. DC, let's go over to you. Pitching tonight. Obviously, there's some really, really good options here. I'm with JT. I like Hunter Brown. I'm curious what the ownership gap is going to be between him and Corbin Burns, because I think it's worth kind of considering and taking a shot on. Listen, I'm a Mets fan. JT knows this, and there's stretches as a Mets fan where it gets bad. And we're in that stretch. I promise you. I've seen this one too many times. I knew it 2 weeks ago, and I knew it was going to continue. So I think it's a good spot for Hunter Brown. I think it's a good spot for Corbin Burns too. Even though, yes, Arizona is a team that you could be a little bit scared of. But I think Corbin Burns' strikeout upside, his floor ceiling combination, seems too good to pass up on. So 8K and above, DC, who are some of the guys that you're targeting here?
Yeah, I think we're going to see ownership really spread out. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see Scherzer, Lopez, Paxton, Burns, Brown, those 5 all exceed 20% ownership.
You think Brown over 20, really?
Maybe. And honestly, I don't even feel that confident ordering them in terms of what their ownership is going to be, to be honest. I think there's some variance in that. So I guess I just bring up that point. If you don't know which way the ownership is going to go, you should probably just play the guys you have the most confidence in, right? Or you think have the most upside, which will be the approach that I take tonight. For me, the SB1 is Max Scherzer. I know he's coming off that brutal game against the New York Yankees. Even the game before that, gave up 11 hits, 5 earned runs against the Braves. I don't really see much of a decline in Scherzer's stuff. Certainly not in the swing and miss. He's still missing a ton of bats. Like, he's still got the slider, the wipeout slider, good velocity on the fastball. He's still getting ahead of hitters. And I think, health is another thing, but I think as long as he stays healthy, or as long as he, for as long as he is, I think he's going to have big games. And I think we're going to look back at maybe these 2 games, especially the last one, and it's going to look at like a blip on the radar for Max Scherzer. The other thing I'll say with Scherzer is, if you look at like the aggregate over the last 3 or 4 years, even longer, frankly, for Scherzer, one thing that stands out almost every year, and certainly over that period of time, absolute dominance against right-handed bats. He can be had by lefties, especially lefty power. But like the strikeout rate against righties is just through the roof. Astros have 8 of them in the lineup today, which traditionally spells a lot of upside for Max Scherzer. And I think that's true here, especially because if you look at the Astros individual hitters, almost all these guys are way better against lefties themselves and struggle against a right-handed pitcher like Scherzer, especially the bottom of the lineup. McCormick, Pena, Myers, Maldonado. These guys are huge splits guys. So I think this matchup really does favor Scherzer. I think maybe people are going to look at it. They're going to see the Astros, but no Yordan Alvarez, only one lefty. I think Scherzer has a big, big bounce-back game here. He is my favorite pitcher. I do think it's close between a lot of these top guys, but I think Scherzer's the one with the strikeout upside. So I'll go ahead.
Can I ask you one question about Scherzer? Because I was talking to someone who's a coordinator here at Run Pure Sports, and he wants to stack against Scherzer tonight, and he says there reverse splits against him. Like, do you think there's anything to some of the numbers this season, or are you just trusting more of the long-term season data?
He hasn't changed as a pitcher. So, we've got a long history on Max Scherzer. It's not like if some pitchers his age, like their stuff starts to decline. Maybe he starts using a changeup more or something. Not really the case for Scherzer. He's still the same power guy that he's been his Hall of Fame career that he's had on. If I think he's that kind of guy, then I've got to go with the historical splits against righties, which I do think will prove true in the long term, and I think, frankly, will prove true tonight. So, yeah, I'm sticking with Scherzer for sure. After that, I think it's really close. So the umpire news, JT, that you delivered, I was on Pablo Lopez as my SP2, or kind of leaning that way, but that's kind of concerning for Lopez. His underlying metrics, it sounds like you look at him too, JT, pretty sick. Like really getting ahead of hitters, missing a lot of bats. I mean, everything that you want. He's a smart pitcher that can go deep into games. And not the best matchup in the world, maybe, but I do like, not pick on, but I don't feel like I need to avoid Boston when they're outside of Fenway, right? If this was in Fenway, I'd have a lot more hesitancy going to Lopez. I do have him as my SP2 for now, but might frankly switch to the old same game stack that Scherzer, Hunter Brown in Houston. I think could be a good way to go. Burns, I think, retains his upside, but he just makes me nervous against this Diamondbacks team that's doing damage. They got some speed. Don't have the most confidence in Corbin Burns. Obviously a fine option tonight. Paxton, same thing, but still kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop for him a little bit, and the umpire news not great. And then, listen, I've been on record on this show. Every time Waka starts, I've missed out on this run of Waka brilliance. And I know if I jump on board, I know how that's going to end for me. So I'll especially on a night where there are so many good options, I'm gonna kind of stick with the guys who I think are more talented and not go to Waka. But I'm sure I'll put up another 20 burger in my face like he always does.
Keep in mind with this, just to add to that point, not that the umpire thing. Like I said, you shouldn't weight it too heavily one way or the other. It's just if I think a pitch is due for regression, like I think Paxton is due for regression for all the reasons I mentioned, then I look at that and I'm like, all right, he's not going to get the calls that maybe he was getting in some of these other games. The other thing here on the Red Sox, played a doubleheader yesterday, played a series and took a series from their arch rival New York Yankees. It's just a perfect letdown spot here for the Boston Red Sox, traveling away after not just a doubleheader, but a doubleheader that ended in Sunday Night Baseball.
All right, guys, if you could please hit that like, subscribe to the channel, helps us out a ton over here at Run Pure Sports. We only got 82 likes with 351 watching. Abe Pone's asking if this is up to lock. We're just going through the slate till the time comes, right? And I'll tell you this, I'd go up to lock if we were matching the like ratio 350 to 350, but we're not doing that. So I ain't going up to lock, right? I mean, come on, man. This is a free show. Hit the damn like, okay? Especially you, Abe Pone, if you're asking if it's up to lock.
We got to make lineups, Abe Pone. I mean, seriously, up to lock, we got to make lineups. Twins suck, and the Twins strike out at a high rate. They do strike out at a high rate, especially against lefties, 28%. You're not telling me anything I don't know, okay? But there is a lot of power in this lineup, and I'm just going off the opposing pitcher and saying, I think this is one. And again, maybe I don't think they're my top stack right now. I'm just talking about who I'm playing and who I'm not. Twins suck. Yeah, that's why they're going to be 8% owned. The Twins go off against a tired Boston bullpen, by the way. Talked about the doubleheader. You actually may see, this is the other thing I've been trying to target with the Twins. DC, you weigh in on this because I know you look at bullpens at least as much as I do, if not more. It's been fun if you've been able to pick out the games where they're going to drag out Corey Kluber, the corpse of Corey Kluber from the bullpen. He's on 2 days rest here. If Paxton gets into trouble, it may be very, very tasty because we may see Corey Kluber.
Yeah, they ran through pretty much a full bullpen game yesterday, right? Really ran. Oh, because they had a doubleheader. Yeah,
the doubleheader, and it was a night game, DC, right?
Yeah. Good call on that. And yeah, we could definitely see some early Corey Kluber if Paxton does get into trouble. You could make the opposite argument that Paxton maybe will be asked to go deep into this game as well if he's able to do so. But I hear you on that for sure.
All right, let's go to the pitchers below 8K. I think that'll be quick. But while we do that, I'm putting Jacob's message up here. So I'm just going to leave this up here so you guys know to hit the like and I can stop saying it. So, Jacob, thank you for posting that. But DC, pitchers below 8K, is there anything you're interested in? Like, I don't think it's a day to really go below this range, but maybe you got something for me I'm not expecting.
No, I really don't have anything to recommend below 8K. I think the two guys who could get it done maybe do have strikeout upside. Andrew Heaney, you never know what you're going to get from him. I think, we talked about it last time you were on the show, Mangone. Like, he can give you 25 or negative 10. Of course, he just had like the most mediocre outing ever and put up 10 fantasy points that game, which is going to happen with him. I still do think there's strikeout upside. I'm still not impressed with this White Sox lineup, but you don't really get that much of a discount. I mean, I'll gladly pay $1,300 more to get Scherzer over Heaney. And then I think I like the Pirates today, but, Drew Smyly, I think he's got a chance at least to pitch well. But below that, yeah, I mean, maybe you guys can, but I personally can't make a case for anybody below Drew Smyly.
I've got nothing for you. I do have a bet on Andrew Heaney. I won't tell you if it's the over or under. You can check that out on Run Pure Bets. I got a player prop up for that. JT Hayes, do you have anything under 8K for us?
Well, let me start with the like button, because I think it's a couple of Mondays in a row here where the people just haven't gotten the plays. I mean, you got to get to at least 50%. You're close to that now. But if you don't do that, I mean, the show is ending at 6:30 on the dot, and there are no plays.
We're here giving you our time on this historic federal holiday. It could be out, with the guys, and you can't even hit the like. Come on, folks.
That's because it's a day of service, and that's what we're doing. We're servicing you, the members. I'm going to agree with DC on the Andrew Heaney call. He's showing about 18% ownership. Where you want to play Heaney, in my opinion, is when he's lower owned. This is a dangerous spot because there's some power at the top of the White Sox lineup, but there's also some ridiculousness in the bottom of the White Sox lineup. Zach Remillard is up from AAA for this game. He's batting in the 9-hole, right? So for me, I'm going to be about even with the field on Andrew Heaney, because if he does harness that strikeout upside, let's say he gives up 3 solo home runs, but he strikes out 9. The other thing to keep in mind here is the Texas offense. Most of these starting pitchers for Texas are getting wins, and they're getting wins because the offense is just bludgeoning the competition. So you get in a situation where Texas offense comes out hot, and that allows Heaney to pitch ahead, not worry about nibbling on the corners, but just to trust his stuff and throw the pitches. Then I think that's the situation where you want Andrew Heaney in. Other than that, I did look, as I look at every pitcher on the slate, and I did note that Brandon Williamson had 20-plus fantasy points against the Rockies in Colorado. Still not going to do it, but take that for what you will. If the weather isn't an issue, they could not hit Jared Schuster, who has been mediocre, in my opinion, on Friday night. There's no reason to expect that the Rockies, who are going to be more owned than they probably should be, are going to do anything against Williamson and the Cincinnati bullpen.
All right. Mike Spencer in the chat says begging for likes is hilarious. No one's laughing, Mike, so that was not a great joke by you.
Yeah, it's like a mutiny in the chat. Come on, people. This is pathetic.
Yeah, and I'm also change my new like to have it there. Bill Miner, hit the damn like, Mangone 2023. That's my campaign. I absolutely love it. So thank you, Bill Miner. That's enough of pitching, though, right? I don't think we have too much else to say. Let's move this thing along. Let's go on over to the bats. We'll break it all down. And again, it's a little bit of a shorter slate, right? So you might see condensed ownership on some spots. I think this is where it gets really interesting for me. Obviously, 15-game slates, you don't see a lot of ownership gravitate in some spots, but curious to hear what your guys' take is on that as we go to each game. This is where leverage can come into play with some bats. So we'll discuss it all here, but let's dive into that first game. First game up is we got the Cubs and the Pirates. We'll go with that one first. So I like starting with this game because DC, you and I were on a show, I believe on Wednesday, and I think that was the night I got third place on FanDuel for 5K. It was a nice little hit, but it's stupid top-heavy tournaments that kind of don't give you as much money as you hope. But Mr. Beto was going against the Cubs, right? This is the same spot, same exact spot that got the job done for me. The Cubs were low-owned, under 10% over on FanDuel, and I don't see them getting the ownership that I think they should be getting again here against Mr. Beto. Like, yes, I think he got 6 strikeouts, but he only went 4 innings. This is a guy that's going to have a short leash compared to a slate with a lot of pitchers that we talked about that have longer leashes, right? So I think this is a great spot for the Cubs. I know Drew Smyly is a guy that I think you'd be willing to attack with these Pirates righties. So DC, is this a spot to go on both sides, or is it just the Cubs again, like I'm thinking?
Yeah, I really like both offenses in this game, actually. Not perfect weather because the wind is blowing in, but I mean, 85 degrees, humid in Pittsburgh. It's going to play like pretty nice hitter's park tonight. Ball should be flying pretty well. You mentioned the Cubs side. I think that's probably the more popular side, maybe the more obvious side, I guess, against the rookie Osvaldo Bido. And I'm on board. I mean, the Cubs, they got plenty of power now. The addition of Christopher Morel down there in the 7 hole. I mean, he is a kind of a nightly, like, it's not always going to work because the strikeout rate is massive, but like his power is just unquestioned and just huge upside on a night-to-night basis. Nobody wants to pay $4,800 for a 7th hole hitter, right? I get it. But yeah, from a GPP perspective, he looks great. They got Cody Bellinger back, who could add some power. Swanson, Happ, Suzuki in the middle. So yeah, I'm in on the Cubs, and I really like the Pirates side too. They let me down more often than they should, but they've got some guys who can really hit lefties. Andrew McCutchen at the top of the lineup. I think he might have been my play of the day. He was for sure. I think the last time he hit a home run, it might have been against Drew Smythe. Can't remember for sure, but I love him against lefties always. Brian Hayes, Rodolfo Castro, both guys that hit lefties well. And then new addition today, cheap catcher Henry Davis, 2K even. He's hitting 7th today. Number 1 overall pick, like I think maybe 3-4 years ago, had some injury issues, but was ripping the cover off the ball in AA. They put him up to AAA just for a few games. He was destroying that. Big power, good plate discipline. I really think he could be a potential stud at the catcher position. And we've had some of these guys come up, some of these hitters come up and really, really, be a boon while they're super cheap. Ellie De La Cruz obviously comes to mind as one. I think Henry Davis could be another. So if you need a good, a good cheap catcher with upside, look no further than Mr. Henry Davis. I think he could do some damage against Drew Smythe, but I do like this Pirates lineup overall for sure.
All right, yeah, I think that's a lot of good information there. Pirates, good play. I like the Cubs definitely the most. Maybe I'll be biased because of that, but I think it's a really good spot for these guys. JT, tell me more about Henry Davis. I don't know if you played against him in some of your little softball leagues that you play in on the side. I don't know if he's in AAA with you, but wanted to see if you got any takes here on the Pirates and the Cubs.
No, I will say I agree with DC. I put up on the Dom call sheet, the new Dom call sheet, that Andrew McCutchen was one of my 2 calls for a home run of the day. Drew Smythe, been pretty good at home in Chicago, but on the road, a little bit less so. Pirates team, middle of the pack, nothing special here, but, there is some home run power. Guys like Reynolds and McCutchen and Rodolfo Castro, who's sitting there, I think, in the 6 or 7 hole tonight. The DC talked about Henry Davis, absolute stud out of Louisville. Getting a pretty quick promotion, as number 1 picks tend to do when they do well in the minor league system. So excited to see him and see him play tonight. Don't really have a feel one way or the other on the Cubs. They could play well. I had the Cubs yesterday against Dean Kramer, just because Kramer, another pitcher who been living a little, running a little pure, if you will. Some of the advanced metrics showing he was due for a down game, and it just didn't come yesterday because this team strikes out too much against right-handed pitching. So not really in love with the Cubs on this slate.
All right, that reminds me. I think I'm going to put something on the Dong call sheet. So if you haven't checked that out, we got a sheet where we pick our home run calls. So, and I know JT Hayes, he was furious yesterday. He had Ryan McMahon on the home run sheet, and he got 2 home runs, and he was mad that it didn't count twice.
Wait, I'm not done with this, by the way. I'm not giving up on this. When you make a Dom call and that guy hits twice, this is not a book. This is not a bet where I'm playing a player to hit a home run. If my guy hits 2, that's 2 home runs. And I'm going to appeal. I'm going to talk to AP Lab and say, look, it's got to be 2 home runs. There's no other way about it. Not only did I get the call right and the guy hit 2, but it's like a 1% on player, which should count for something. At least it should count for my feelings, my esteem, and it does. I was very happy to get the 2 home runs out of Ryan.
Well, I think you could maybe count it for 2, but you're not getting, like, if it's plus 600, you're not getting plus 1,200 then. I think that's wrong. But
I don't care about that. It's just how many home runs did you call? And AP just said he'll allow it. I win. I love it.
What, you want a cookie, JT? Like, I don't get what you want here. What's your argument? You get the plus 600. That's all you get. It doesn't matter if you get 6 home runs.
I got the 2 home runs on the sheet. At the end of the year, that's the deal. I also had him in my DFS lineups, DC. So yeah,
it
was good. It was good. He was better. He was better than Austin Riley. He was better than a lot of third basemen yesterday. So thank you. I'm getting a lot of agreement in the chat who are obviously all smart, reasonable people who need their voices to be heard. And that's it. The argument's over. I win.
Well, JT Hazy plays softball on the side. He counts dongs
baseball.
on the side.
Don't say I play softball again. It's very insulting. It's very insulting.
Oh man, too good. Well, now I know how to strike a nerve with JT. So there we go. We can do that on future shows. But let's keep this thing moving along here. We got 6 games left. Let's go to Reds and Rockies. We'll go to that next. There is some weather there, though, right? So stay tuned for that. DC, if you got a weather update, let the people know. But what's your thoughts on this game? I mean, obviously, this game in Cincinnati, that's good for the Rockies, right? I mean, it's a good ballpark. We don't like to play them that much in Coors, but are we considering playing them here in Cincinnati? And are we considering attacking one of these Rockies pitchers here with some of these Reds bats?
Yeah, Reds have been on fire. I think they've won 8 games in a row, something like that. No mistake. They're calling up their guys like Matt McClain, Ellie De La Cruz, getting all the attention. But this lineup in general just really hitting awesome. Weather-wise, this game looks fine. Maybe there's a delay somewhere in there to start the game. I think most likely just plays as scheduled. And I don't know. I personally wouldn't use Austin Gomber or Brandon Williamson anyway. So if you're playing offense in this game, which I think is frankly a pretty wise thing to do, I would just assume this game goes off as normal. And I like the red side. You got to like it against Austin Gomber. Can't pitch in Coors, can't pitch in Cincinnati, can't pitch anywhere. And this offense is coming to life. They're a good team to be, riding the hot hand with right now. I think they keep it going. They get Joey Votto back. I saw Uncle T in chat. Maybe the old man Votto gonna ruin the good mojo for the kids. Maybe, but Joey Votto seems like a pretty cool dude. I think the kids maybe like having Joey Votto in there. I wish it was Christian Encarnacion Strand, who's going to be maybe the next stud that comes up. Maybe when Votto, goes down here with another injury. But on the Reds and the Rocky side, I like as well. Not quite as much, just because don't like the lineup as much, mostly. But both of these pitchers are certainly guys you can target.
All right, JT, any interest in this Reds and Rockies game?
Yeah, interested in the Reds here. I don't know how much I'll have. It makes me nervous when you see games like this, and the Reds are projected for fairly high ownership that I think gets higher than advertised. And they've been good, no doubt. Great weekend series in Houston. Maybe just have to get different elsewhere. On the Rockies side, they seem to be a little bit more popular than they should here. I understand all about Brandon Williamson, understand all about how poor Cincinnati's bullpen has been over the last 30 days. Cincinnati and the Rockies, combine for the 2 worst bullpens in the game. So it's hard not to, especially if you're multi-entering like I am tonight, hard not to throw in a couple of full game stacks this game, and I'll be doing that. But 2 guys that do stick out to me on the Rockies side, Randall Grichuk, and then a guy that we haven't seen a whole lot out of so far, but in the past done very well against left-handed pitching, Jorge Alfaro. And Brenton Doyle cooled off a little bit since he started out pretty hot, but he's been a pretty good stick in there too. So when I'm playing the Rockies, those are the guys that I'm likely going to focus on.
All right, let's keep this thing moving along. Let's go over to the next game. 2 games down, 5 more to go, and we got the Red Sox and Twins coming up next. And we talked about how, as our guy Holden calls him, Big Maple, James Paxton, how he can kind of blow up in some spots. And is this a spot where maybe the Twins can blow up? We'll have to see about that. DC, what's your thoughts here on the Twins?
I don't think I'm going to go to offense here. I think if I did, it would definitely be the Twin side against Paxton. Kind of hoping, don't want to wish injury on a guy, but it seems like at some point he could. Not on Juneteenth, JT. I don't want to bring that evil to the world on this delightful day.
You're going to get bitten. You're going to get bitten by a cottonmouth this week because you're just bringing the terrible karma on yourself.
Well, I said I don't want to, but I'm saying James Paxton does seem
when you brought it up. Listen, leave your Fitbit on in case you're stranded somewhere in the Colorado mountains and someone needs to come rescue you.
Yeah. All right. Back to it. I think the Twins are decent against Paxton. I do think, frankly, I think like he'll make like one. I don't know when it's going to be, but there'll be like one Paxton game where he just gets absolutely crushed. You might even know it in like the first or second inning if he's like velocity's down 3 or 4. I just think it'll happen sometime soon. Not saying it'll happen here. I would like to be on the other side when it does happen. Not going to pick on Pablo Lopez with the Red Sox.
All right. Before we go to JT, I got a couple things. One, can you respond to Al? He said Votto got called up from your softball league as well, JT. So there we go. And then our guy Falik was very upset. Falik always has something to say. Can you remove all the quotes from the bottom? He can't find the website. It's under the quote. What's your thoughts there on that, JT?
My thoughts first on Al Cervic. Very tempted to put you in timeout for being hurtful and disrespectful, but I'm not going to do it because we love and respect our members. As for Falik, I think that comment now has to stay until the end of the show. So one of us, Mangone or I, are going to find it and put it back up there. Not his quote, the quote that he was upset about. And the reason why is for those of you that don't know Bill Miner is our friend who is a prison warden. And if you look at that photo, I mean, you look, Bill Miner, you look absolutely like a prison warden looks like. And we got to put it back up. Respect to Bill Miner. No complaints allowed on the live show.
The only prison warden I am aware of is the guy from Shawshank Redemption. So hopefully Bill Miner is not that kind of guy.
I thought you were going to tell me our own attorney of law was also a prison warden. That would have surprised me, but I was ready for you to go there with that one.
Bill Miner is not that. He is fair, he is compassionate, and he's sneaky because he figures out a way to get these streams in the prison. So, I mean, Bill, maybe there's a consulting career for you in the afterlife where you help people get contraband into the prisons. That would be interesting. As far as this game, I'm on Pablo Lopez, and I'm going to be on the Twins here. I'm just going to take a stand. They're going to have low ownership. That's when we want to play the Twins. We don't want to play them when they're highly owned, and probably be close to fading Paxton, but definitely under the field.
All right, we'll keep this thing moving along. I do agree with you. I only like to play the Twins when they're low owned, when they have ownership. And when I see Big T on them, I send him a text message and I say, what are you doing? Stop playing the Twins. So today's the day I will not be sending our guy Anthony a message because they are low owned enough where I think you can get away with it. So let's keep this thing moving along. Let's go over to the next game. Next one up is Arizona and the Brewers. And Merrill Kelly, not really a guy that's been known to pick on this season, and neither is Corbin Burnes. It's an 8 total here in Milwaukee. DC, any thoughts here on how to handle this game, or is this just a full fade for you?
I don't think I'm going to the Brewers. Just don't love this lineup. Merrill Kelly, he's so much better at home than he is on the road. He's got to go on the road here. So just kind of, hoping for a moderate game from Kelly. 9,600 for him feels really, really high for his skill level. So no real interest. I think the Diamondbacks are somewhat interesting against Corbin Burnes. I do like Burnes as well, but you can run on Burnes. He does give up some hard contact. He has had some bad starts this year. And the Diamondbacks are a team that can, rack up the fantasy points in a hurry. That top 3, Perdomo, Ketel Marte, Carroll looks good. I think Carroll is a pretty elite one-off if you're not playing Corbin Burnes himself with the power, the speed. I mean, man, he is he's just been absolutely ridiculous. I think he's almost flown under the radar with how good he's been. He's been right behind Ronald Acuna just in terms of overall production. So he's been insane and definitely my favorite play in this game overall.
All right, JT, 8 implied total here. Do you have any interest in this one?
Yeah, I agree with DC. I mean, the Diamondback side is a little bit interesting. I don't want to play a lot of Brewers, but I also don't want to pay $9,600 for Merrill Kelly. So we're probably just going to stay away from both sides there and maybe have some Diamondbacks here.
All right. Before we go to the next game, our guy Kevin's in the chat again. He says, no better marketing than Bill Miner's quote than the website. Here's the thing, Kevin Falik. If you have any issues, you can hit up info@runpuresports.com. And if any of you have any issues, we are happy to help you by just messaging info@runpuresports.com. If you have any website issues at any time, let's say you're having trouble getting to the Discord chat, hit them up there, right? If you're a new member and you're confused at where to find something, hit up info@runpuresports. Kevin Fallick, hit up info@runpuresports.
Bill Miner is asking to take his picture down, and I'm sympathetic to that. But we're going to take your down, but we are going to leave a comment up for the entire remainder of the show.
Yeah, we'll keep moving for sure. We'll find something to put up there. But here we go. Let's go on over to the next game. It's that wind game, right? DC, you alluded to it a little bit. Texas Rangers and the White Sox. There is some wind opportunity here, and then some opportunity to take advantage of. Andrew Heaney can blow up at times, and the White Sox, I believe they're kind of doing a bit of a bullpen game. Break this thing down. Is this a game that you're going to kind of get some exposure to, or is this one maybe to stay away from?
Yeah, hard not to like the Rangers, given how good they've been all year long. They get, really looks like a pretty good matchup against the White Sox, who don't really have a great bullpen anyway. Tanner Banks is going to start here. I don't think he'll last very long, and it'll be, a procession of mediocre relievers after him against an offense that has been crushing and is in a really good hitting environment here. 72 degrees, humid, wind blowing out in Chicago. I do expect the Rangers to kind of put it on the White Sox tonight. And I mentioned Andrew Heaney as a guy you can play if you are, trying to get contrarian, chasing strikeout upside. I do think he has those things. White Sox could also, like you guys said, hit 3-4 home runs. Wouldn't shock me at all. They've got Robert Jimenez, Jake Berger all in the lineup. Jake Berger in particular is another guy that I think is an elite one-off here against Andrew Heaney. So, yeah, I do like both offenses. Heaney, the pitcher that you could play, and I do prefer the Texas side, but Texas is a fun team to play the bottom of the lineup because they do get a lot of production 1 through 9, and obviously most people stack the top.
All right, yeah. I mean, Texas, they were basically on the winner the other day with them in Atlanta, right? It was a mix of them, but there were some good options, and Tavares was a guy at the bottom of the order that definitely got the job done. So definitely be sure to get some exposure to Texas. I think they're a team that is in play today. And up and down, you can play 1 through 9 here. White Sox, they get a lefty. I typically like to target them when they are going up against a lefty. I don't think it's a bad spot for the White Sox, but I have to pick one on Cubs over the White Sox. So I'm picking one Chicago team today. JT, are you interested in the White Sox or any interest in this Texas Rangers offense?
Yeah, I mean, you can't not be interested in the Rangers offense with what they're doing. Like I said, same thing with the Braves is if you're fading them right now, like even if they only score 2 or 3 runs tonight, right? I mean, okay, so what? They're going to score 15 tomorrow. It's not something I'm willing to do. I don't know if they make my main lineup here because the top of the lineup is very expensive, but definitely some affordable pieces. And then I can see both sides of Heaney and White Sox, so I'll have, even with the field on Heaney, but I'll definitely have some White Sox, particularly the power guys. Jimenez, Luis Robert, Andrew Vaughn has been good most of the season. And then, Jake Berger, I mean, especially against lefties, but even against righties lately, he's shown tremendous power. So I think you probably get at least a couple of home runs from the White Sox tonight. Can't really pick out who it's going to come from, so I'll lean on the side of the stack, either full or mini stacks. And then, obviously not in the same lineups with Heaney, but I do think Heaney, based on what I'm seeing in terms of projections and ownership, I think Heaney can pitch well enough to be close enough to the best point per dollar play on the slate. He could also go the complete other way, but at low ownership with a little bit of a price discount, take some shots on him here.
Yep, that is the life of Andrew Heaney. We got 2 more games here to go. We need that like button hit. We're at 159 with 403 watching, and that's still not good enough. We got to get the job done. You heard JTAs. It's got to be at least 50%. So get it home for us. That's the only way you're going to be getting those plays of the day. But let's keep this thing moving along. We got 2 games left to discuss. That's it. Houston Astros, New York Mets. Something tells me we're moving past this game quick, but it's a short slate, DC. I know you talked about not doing any game theory on this one, but what's your thoughts here on this game?
I'm not going to bats here, but, we've talked about it a lot on this show, and it's proven true. Like, there are no truly safe pitchers this year. I mean, we saw it with Max Scherzer last start. Like, if you stacked against him, you certainly were in the winner's circle. If, you probably got pretty close to the damn top of it. I'm on Scherzer today. I'm playing him, but it happened to him last start. Of course it could happen again. So if you want to get your contrarian, I get it. I'm not going to any bats in this game. It would be the Mets side that I slightly prefer. They've been coming around a little bit with the sticks, and Hunter Brown, obviously a very good pitcher, but still a young pitcher that could get hit. And the Mets do have obviously some serious power in that lineup and a decent place to hit as well. But like you said, pretty short and sweet for me on Astros and Mets. I like both these pitchers, particularly the Scherzer. Not getting to any bats here myself.
JT, thoughts on this game, or do you want to just go right on over to the Padres and Giants? Because I know at the start of the show you kind of mentioned a little bit about the Giants.
Yeah, probably. I mean, pretty much agree with DC. I don't think I'll have much from this game, even in multi-entry. It'll be just maybe one or two, more so on the Houston side, just because of how bad the Mets bullpen has been recently, but not in love with the bats here.
All right, then let's go on over to that Giants game, JT. Let's have you discuss. What are you doing with this Giants spot? Obviously, have to have some type of interest in some of these Giants. I think Michael Wacha, he has had his issues, and I think I don't know if you need to do the 5-man stack, but I think for one-offs it's not bad. And Wacha has had his issues, kind of walking some guys too. So if you do the 5-man stack, obviously you can kind of get 3-run home runs that way. And the Padres, listen, the Padres they were starting to hit the ball a lot better, right? I don't think they're out of the question on this slate, especially a site like on FanDuel with Ryan Walker on the mound. I won't be ignoring this team. Wind is blowing out 25 miles an hour. It's not a huge deal in that San Francisco park, right? But I do think this Padres team can't be ignored. What's your thoughts here on this one, JT?
Yeah, I like some of the left-handed power here for San Francisco. They always seem to make pretty interesting 1 or 2 off mini stacks and lineups, because it seems like and then for a good reason, right? We know about the pinch hitting and the things that the Giants do, the matchups that they play when you get into the bullpen of the opposing team. So they're always low owned, which is interesting when you see guys like Lamont Wade Jr. heating up. Had a big game the other night. Conforto's been a little bit cold, but Yastrzemski's been heating up a little bit. So don't mind those guys. If J.D. Davis and Patrick Bailey are in the lineup, those are 2 right-handers that usually will get the whole game regardless of what happens once the bullpens come in. And then you can always take shots on some of these Padres guys, the Tatis, Machado, Bogarts. Bogarts maybe coming around a little bit, has been cold for a little bit. And then, of course, Jake Cronenworth from the left side. It does appear, I can't predict that this one they're going to have a long reliever that's going to come out and throw 4 or 5 innings. It does look like this is more so one of those full bullpen games from San Francisco. So a little bit less interest here, because I think, it could get messy here in terms of who comes in. And there are some Padres guys that they might swap out. Not a ton. They don't do it a whole lot, but just hard to predict against these bullpen games.
All right, I'm going to address something. Gary says Wacha has a 6% walk rate the last 30. Gary, my computer keeps changing monitors. I don't know if I'm on mute. Sometimes you kind of throw things out there and just fight through. So if I gave you a bad stat, my apologies there, Gary. But let's keep this thing moving along. DC, what's your thoughts? Padres.
You're bringing fact checking to the show. I like it.
Yeah, I had to DC. Your computer's having issues, right? You're trying to fight through the pain. That's what I was trying to do there. So, but give me your thoughts on this game. Is there any interest? Because I think I'm going to have some Padres over on FanDuel.
I think you could go to either offense here. Again, Wacha obviously has been awesome in terms of the results. I'm still not convinced he's going to keep it up. And I think the Giants, they've got a lot of big bats in that lineup. Obviously, you got to worry a little bit about the pinch hit stuff. But still, I do think the Giants are interesting. And so are the Padres. Ryan Walker, he's going to get through as much as he can here. Giants do have a fairly rested pen. Haven't used too many guys in the last couple of days, so they will be able to kind of mix and match with the lineups, which does concern me. I don't love going after stacks on those days when every hitter in the lineup's got to face the available pitcher that is most able to kind of get them out, I guess is how I would put it. But yeah, the Padres lineup obviously is very dangerous. I do think they'll go very low owned, and it's not like the Giants are a lights out bullpen. So I do get it with the Padres, kind of lukewarm, I guess, on both sides here.
All right. Listen, we're at the end. I want to give the plays of the day, but only 169 likes for 422 watching. I don't think we're able to do that, but we will give you the stacks. The people definitely are going to get the stacks, of course.
Wait, let's get it home. Let's do the stacks. if they can get it home to 200, right? 200 even, is that enough, JT?
I'd allow 200, and we'll see if they get close. Maybe there'll be a little bit of we'll borrow a little bit of Bill Miner's compassion.
Okay, here's it. Here's your time to make the push. If we're at like 190 and we decide to get off, and then you somehow get 200, don't be you guys could have had it. This is your chance to push the likes home. Okay, make Bill Miner happy, damn it. Okay,
and we've given you a head start with our 3 likes. So, yeah,
that's very true. Let's go on over to JT Hayes. Top 3 stacks of the day. Who are they?
Yeah, I mean, the popular stacks here, right, are going to be Cincinnati. So I'm going to leave them out, even though I'm going to play Cincinnati, right? Colorado. Texas falls a little bit behind them, so I'll go with Texas. I do, I'm interested a little bit in the Diamondbacks, and I'll give you the Twins as a contrarian stack that I think has some legs tonight.
All right. For me, I'm going with Cubs number 1. I'm going Texas number 2. And I'm going to go White Sox number 3. So those will be my top 3 stacks. I left the Reds off. I'll probably have some Red stacks, but they'll probably be more mini stacks. And I'll definitely run the Reds back a little bit because the other day it was a Reds and Cubs stack that got the job done with Fernando Tatis. So I can basically build the same team if I really wanted to. So DC, we'll go on over to you. Top 3 stacks of the day.
Yeah, Reds will be popular, but I do really like them, especially the middle of that order. That kind of McLean, India, Cruz, Steer is certainly my favorite 4 all in a row there for the Reds. I'll go Rangers too. Just been on fire, and yeah, I mean, awesome matchup here. Good hitting weather as well. And then finally, really like the Pirates. They're kind of my sneakier one on this slate, but we will say spread out ownership outside of the Reds. So yeah, should be a really fun night for DFS.
Should be a fun night for DFS, and now I'm gonna have a fun time checking the likes. Let's see what the people did. Did they get the job done? JT 192. That is on that edge. What's your thoughts here? Do we give them away? Do we get off while they're giving 200? How's this gonna go?
I see that it's still climbing. So and listen, much better than it's been the last couple of Mondays. So you have to reward improvement. I think we have to give them.
Yeah, and JT, it's a holiday, right? It's a holiday. We gotta give it to the people for a holiday. I think that makes a lot of sense. People out here supporting us, they're supporting us, we're supporting them. So Joe Ruff, that's okay. We're gonna give it out today. And you know what? I feel good about my play of the day. So I'm gonna go first because I don't want anyone stealing it. That would not be fun for me. So my play of the day, I'm trying to pull up the graphic, the ping pong play of the day. We got JT Hayes of the ping pong ball there. We got Rubio Dimes, I think, drinking a Coke back there. And, of course, I was playing against DC. Who do we got, though? We got Ian Happ. Ian Happ, the Chicago Cubs. I got him on my dongs list as well. So, listen, if he does hit a dong for you and you place a bet on that, you better go subscribe to Run Pure Bet. So, Ian Happ is going to be my play of the day. Let's go over to DC, though. Mom's Basement play of the day. DC, who do we got?
Yeah, we're going to get a MLB debut dong from Mr. Henry Davis, 2K catcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates, hitting 7th tonight.
All right. Well, you got one cheap one. We got a little game stack opportunity here. JT, are you going to the same game for a game stack? Maybe you're going to Texas. Maybe you're going to the Twins. We're hopping on Air France, though. Let us know who it is. Eiffel Tower play of the day.
Yeah, Mocherino, I need you to turn off your system here so you don't hear it. I want to abide by your wishes, but I'm gonna go with a guy who's been hot and cold this season and is a little bit expensive. I don't think many people are going to play him. Byron Buxton, Eiffel Tower play of the day.
All right, Byron Buxton, it is. That'll wrap it up for us, though, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us here on the MLB Swing for the Fence as well. Tons of content this week. If you haven't signed up at Run Pure Sports, again, use that code SUMMER33. And if you haven't hit that like yet, just hit it out the door. We would appreciate it. But that's going to wrap it up for us. For me, Mangone, JT Hayes, and our guy, DC. We'll see you guys later.